All right, let's get right into things here on this First Alert Weather Day Tuesday. And so far, this event sort of unfolding as expected. We started saying yesterday that right around lunchtime is when those winds would noticeably increase. Already starting to see that, starting to see some power outages beginning to creep up. And we're going to be in the thick of it here as we work our way through these next couple of hours, taking us through the late afternoon into the evening. Still thinking the worst is over with by around 8 o'clock tonight. Between now and then, though, it is going to be bumpy. The vast majority of the area under that tornado watch until 6 o'clock this evening. It doesn't include our counties just north of the border, but it may as well. Those areas will be added into that watch as we work our way through these next couple of hours. Remember, a tornado watch means that conditions are favorable for the development of severe thunderstorms and tornadoes, and we are certainly seeing that favorable environment now beginning to increase. Let's take you into First Alert Doppler radar and show you what we're looking at right now. And locally, we're primarily just looking at some downpours. What we're going to be watching closely, though, as we head through the rest of the day today, are some of these individual downpours that right now aren't overly impressive. But if these start to intensify, then that's where we'll certainly see a tornado threat. But also notice this solid line of storms now just coming into Charlotte, still west of Columbia. Check that out. That is a 450-mile long stretch of nonstop severe thunderstorm warnings. Occasionally within that line, we are seeing tornado warnings, and it is going to be that line that progresses its way through the area late this afternoon into this evening. That brings with it that risk of isolated tornadoes as well as strong and damaging winds. Let's walk you through it here with Future Radar. This is the latest update of Future Radar. And again, just some of those little pockets of showers and downpours and gusty winds. Now, we'll take you through 2 o'clock. That kind of continues. I think once we get to 3 to maybe 4 o'clock, though, that's when things really start to crank up. Notice how we start to see some of those individual cells taking on a bit of a meaner look. Again, those are going to be where we see the isolated tornado threat. We'll take you through the 4 o'clock hour into the 5 o'clock time frame. That's when we're going to start to see that solid line of severe storms beginning to push through the PD, crossing over Interstate 95, bringing with it that risk of the damaging winds and a continued isolated tornado threat. Still focusing on roughly 6 o'clock, give or take an hour or so, for that line to come through the Grand Strand and then finally pushing offshore. And still quite confident that by the time we get into around 8 o'clock this evening, the worst of this system will be behind us. Now, for a couple of days, we've been talking about the wind associated with this system, even without any severe weather. Well, we're already starting to see those winds really beginning to crank now across parts of the area, and those winds only going to increase. We've already seen a gust in Myrtle Beach to 40 miles per hour. That was over the last hour, coming down just a little bit right now. That's going to be what we see, though. These winds kind of gust off and on. Same thing as we take you into North Myrtle Beach, where we've recently seen a gust of 45 miles per hour, and Spring-Made Pier gusting to around 40 miles per hour. Some of our inland spots have actually seen those gusts as high as close to 50 miles per hour there in and around Laurinburg. We've also seen some of those similar gusts in and around Lumberton. And notice, we're going to see those winds picking up. So here we are right now, generally 40 to 45 for most of us. Watch as we work our way through these next couple of hours. Now you start to see more 50s beginning to show up. Then as we progress through the late afternoon, you'll start to see some occasional 60s showing up. That happens as that intense line of storms works its way through the area with that line of storms just ahead of it, and as it blows through is when we are going to see those strongest winds, and again, some isolated gusts, potentially over 60 miles per hour, before that also pushes offshore. And notice again, as we head into the late evening hours, those winds begin to calm down, and it'll be a much, much quieter night. However, between now and then, again, though, it is going to be on the rough side. Obviously, we've still got that high surf advisory, breaking waves 8 to 10 feet across the beach today with those strong winds. We will continue to keep you updated. Thankfully, as we started saying yesterday, this isn't like the December storm where we had that big risk of coastal flooding. That risk pretty much non-existent, maybe some very minor coastal flooding around 5 or 5:30 this evening. But overall, this is primarily continuing to be a strong wind and tornado threat. as we head through this afternoon. We'll continue to keep you updated as those conditions change.